good.
Yeah?
How are you guys?
We're making it. It's Comic-Con week.
I know. That's super fun.
I'm excited to talk to you because I've written 6 books on Supernatural, so it's like one of my big things, including a chapter on how the music in the show has really contributed to its success. So it's very exciting to talk to you.
It's amazing. That show is so close to my heart. It really is.
Can you talk a little bit about how the experience of writing for Supernatural, such a show that's going into its 15th season, is a different experience than writing for The Boys, which is just starting off?
It absolutely is a different experience because it's such a unique and very different sound, but it's very similar too because, first of all, they're both Eric Kripke, who is like one of my best friends in the whole world. We went to college together, we lived next door to each other, we used to do short movies for free, and even though it's such a different show, there are things that are really universal in the way that he tells stories and the way that I think we tell stories, the two of us, which is, it's an adventure ride. There's always an over, what you think. There's always the text of what you think it is. We have what's Supernatural. Oh, it's a scary show. It's about fighting demons. Not really. Not really. It's actually a family show. It's about that. It's brotherhood. And that was the thing when Eric first called me about Supernatural was there are scary moments, there are demons, there are monsters, but it's really a show about a family. That's it. And it's a family on an adventure to keep everybody safe. And that's sort of the heart of that. And even The Boys, it's a show that's super violent and super offensive and crazy. It makes no sense. But at the end of it, there's this team of boys, of the boys, who are not all boys, who are trying to, take down the bad guys. The bad guys happen to be the superheroes this time, but they're trying to save the world, and they're trying to take care of each other and all that kind of stuff. So it's there's a theme there. There's a family thing, even though they're not family, they become a family. But I think there's also the thing, the other thing that Supernatural has done that it's sort of kept growing into is this sort of social commentary where it's like, it talked about life and death and belief in hope and salvation and all this kind of stuff, and The Boys is very at the outset you're like, wow, it's a show with a lot of F-bombs that everything blows up and it's crazy and it's Seth Rogen and I can't believe what's going on. But then you're like, wait a second, you know what, that scene is actually just telling me that I better rethink how I take in social media. I better rethink about what people are telling me about heroes and is this produced or are they actually like that? And so there's a lot of sort of subtext that's actually, again, very much from a place of, I'm not going to hit you over the head with it, but when you sit down and think about it, you're like, whoa, this is deeper than I thought. And I think that's one of the things I love about Eric. And then, quite honestly, Sausage Party I did for Seth, and that's a great example of it's a foul-mouthed movie about sex and food and hot dogs and stuff. And you're like, kind of, but it's also a film about different cultures and saving the world and religion and finding hope and salvation and letting people live however they want. There's all this stuff that doesn't make sense. Why is that in that movie? But it's sort of under there, but it's never hit you over the head over. And that's kind of where, that's why I love working with Seth and that's why I love working with Eric for so long, is it's very much an experience of not just telling great stories, because that's the first, if the story's not fun and the characters aren't great, it's not going to work. And that's always at the center, but then there's all this other stuff that you're that's like special treats, It's like when Castiel first came on Supernatural, you're like, it's an angel, I don't get it. But then the relationship that they have and that he has with Sam and Dean, and you're like, oh my God, this is so, I just love these characters. I love them, and I just feel like I want to root for them. I want to see where they end up. I want them to be okay. It's good. It's the way people make good entertainment.
And the music is so much a part of it. So much a part of it.
It's fun to do.
Thank you.
Do you find that your approach to composing scores for different projects changes from director to director, and how you actually begin a project or continue working with it?
I mean, my approach doesn't change from director to director. It's only how I interact and explain and talk with them, he or she, about what they're doing. But for me, like, I am such a firm believer in story is everything. Like, when we get out of school, sometimes studying music, there's this habit of like, oh, I'm gonna sit down with the director and see if he wants me to write oboe. So maybe the director likes oboe or French horn, and we should do, because it's an American thing, it should be these kind of chord changes because it makes you feel like you're in America, and then later you're like, that doesn't matter at all. It just doesn't. What matters is who's our main character, who's our characters, and what are they feeling? And that's the first thing if I play something for a director and I can tell they don't love it, no, it's not working. Like, I would never say, well, do you think it's because of the drums, or do you think, like, to me it's what are you trying to feel? What's in the head of a character, and why, and what are you missing? And if somebody like Eric or Tim Story, who's one of my all-time favorite directors to work for as well, like, if they say, I'm just not feeling like they're sad enough, or you know what, I know that this is supposed to feel tragic, but don't forget that their brother's still alive, and there's a little bit of hope. That's all I need. Like, I just want to know that they need a little bit of hope, because then I can translate that into music. That's my job, is to translate it into another language. But for me, it's like, what do characters want to feel, and what does the audience want to feel to make them feel connected to those characters? To make them root for Sam and Dean, to make them, root for the Robinsons to get away from the bad robot. All that stuff. Like, it's all, that's the important. What's going to make you stand up and cheer the way I did when I was a kid? I remember sitting and watching E.T. for the first time. I was in 4th grade, and it was kind of a date, and my mom drove me, but I took this little girl, and I remember me and this girl Kelly sat next to each other, and we were like in the second row back, and that last 10 minutes, and the tears are streaming down my face, and I'm like, I can't leave this theater because I'm a sobbing sack, like, complete disaster mess. And it's that, like, how do I make that happen? Because that wouldn't have happened without John Williams' music in those last 10 minutes. And so, how do I make people feel that? That's my job, is to make people feel things like that. And working with the director is just all about finding out, like, asking the director, what's the story? What's your story?
Well, you made me cry a million times watching Supernatural, so I hope you feel good.
Well, it's easy to do that when people keep dying and coming back to life.
That is true.
Every composer wants to write scenes when main characters die, but I get to write like I don't know how many Sam dying scenes I've written now, but it's like there's a bunch of them. So every time I get to get you.
Good job.
Thank you.
You remind me.
Are we good?
Yeah. So, hey guys, sorry I have to end it now, but we're gonna have them all get some photos. So if you want photos or photography, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet all of you. Season 4.
I can't wait.
Really good.